Buenos dias, everyone. It's so great to virtually be here with all of you. I'm here to tell you the story about how I began to use my voice and speak my truth from really early on in my youth. At a young age, I understood that I was different from my friends, that my family had come a very long way, and that the place that I called home was not always home to them. When I write, I overthink. And then when I think, I shut down. I push through the shutdowns in my mind because it's bigger than me. I push through because my work is for the moms who clean houses like mine, the dads who fix trucks like mine, the workers who do not speak English. I learned English in kindergarten, and I truly don't know if it was my mean teacher or how angry and sad I was that it was beyond difficult to learn the language. It was in the little things like my mom's choice of supermarket that I knew that we were different from my amigos estadounidenses, which is Spanish for United States friends. Translating for my mom at the hospital when I was in third grade after her second open heart surgery was a completely common thing in a third grade. It was a matter of life or death for me to be available and prepared to help my parents. It wasn't a choice to grow up defending them, so I grew up fast. I felt proud every time I could fluently communicate to my parents what adults were trying to say to them and vice versa. I felt like I was bringing dignity every time that I could make sure that my parents' needs were heard or that anything that they were trying to communicate wasn't misunderstood. Immigrant children, you see, grow up being defenders of the honor of their families, and it was truly my honor. Many times growing up with leader qualities because we're filled with extremely anxiety-filling experience. This pressure of having to translate in rooms where no kids should truly be present results in a permanent need to defend and protect. I knew that my mom worried because she feared not being able to help me enough with schoolwork. But shortly after beginning first grade, I began helping my younger sister with her homework, and then my younger brother. Being the oldest of three, I've grown prepared to clear the way for my siblings, wanting to make my parents' sacrifice and hard time and hard with low-wage jobs worth it. In high school, I had many friends, but was very quiet. I intentionally took public speaking though, and I would say at least every 5 words. My hands would sweat so much, and I turned so red whenever I would stumble over words. It was so hard. But I did it because I was looking to see how I could get to a place of not hating my English, or how I would sound speaking out loud. I did it anyway and encouraged my friends by helping them through their essays so they'd feel the courage of their voice too. After high school, I was given the chance to meet the president of Costa Rica, which again is where I was born. And I prepared to interview him about DACA, which is a long explanation, but deferred action for childhood arrivals, a temporary legal status. And I wanted to ask him about the ways in which presidents of countries outside the US, like him, could perhaps help students like me create college aid, aka a diplomatic effort. This conversation resulted in him offering me the opportunity to be the one to create an avenue. I could not believe my ears when he said, "I don't know what DACA is, but it seems that you do, so why don't you lead the way? With my team's help, I'm sure it can happen." My siblings were so happy in the back watching this moment come to life because they knew I almost didn't make it to that meeting. I was so nervous. My little brother was born here and my sister and I were not, so this has always given us a stronger sense of awareness of how much harder we have to work at everything. But it's also exhausting. Speaking out about being undocumented meant that my family would be exposed. And at first I felt selfish, wondering whether or not sharing would do more good than harm. Wondering whether it would do my community a disservice to have me speaking out while perhaps many of them would never speak because of fear and true danger. An opportunity came to share our personal stories as DACA recipients before the New Jersey Senate right after Trump ended DACA. I decided to come forward as undocumented publicly at 19, and then was part of a national lawsuit against the Trump administration for rescinding DACA. And the lawsuit won. We won. The day it won, our stories were spoken on in the US Senate with large pictures showcased beside the senator advocating for DACA. That feeling shook me to my core. I received so many texts and emails from teachers that taught me in elementary and middle school, and I cried so much, and it makes me want to cry now. Because it gave me affirmation beyond my imagination. I decided to be part of this action despite my fear, and we won. We won a lawsuit before the US government. And when I shared my story, I did it with the courage, strength of all of the people in my community that came before me. I shared my story. Story sharing to me has become an act of revolution. No one can take my story from me. That's my thought process, and that's what I'm here to tell y'all today. No one can take your story from you, and no one can tell your story like you. I felt that it was my duty to express that being undocumented was so many things and not just one. When talking about my perspective, I always emphasized that no one else would ever be able to tell my story better than me, but that just as equally, I would never be able to speak on behalf of all undocumented people. Talking out loud about my legal status was supposed to feel chaotic, but instead I felt on fire. A fire that stemmed from deep anger for all of the people in my community who might have struggled to express their feelings before a system that consistently looks for them to validate and prove their worthiness. For many immigrants who did not receive dignity and respect, whether it was a language barrier, fear of deportation, straightforward racism, or financial difficulties, the list goes on, but so does this fight. To finish off, I landed in San Diego last year, the largest migration border in the US, to particularly work to build an avenue of support that recognizes the existing work and community, including youth that organize and have grown up in the border and are native of the border. Every meeting I had, I was reminded that immigration, like so many issues, are just not new. All of the older organizers I learned from teach with deep wisdom and passion because the system is one they also worked against in their youth. I spoke up and offered free workshops that would help curate and write history even more thoroughly for our community. I will continue to do so because finding my voice has looked like being in community with others as they find their voice. As young people, as leaders in any space, it is crucial to learn that our voices do have power. From your classroom to rooms we walk into with our parents, we have the power in what we speak and how we choose to step up to the plate. That our unique perspective can tell us more about what we have gone through or have not gone through. Finding your voice means so many times you will speak, even if your voice trembles. So do it. It means you will many times doubt yourself and your ability, but do it. Stepping into your power is knowing that you do not need to be anyone else but yourself, because you have what it takes within your story to speak with courage and live a life that is filled with purpose. I want to encourage all of you to look within yourselves because no one is you. No one can ever be you. Your individuality is what makes you powerful, and we can absolutely change the world. Thank you all so much.